Good morning. It is Monday, January the 7th, and I'm just up thinking about my son and how much I love him, and just disappointed in the state of Florida um, for making it hard for me to have a relationship with my son. Up to this point, my son's mom is not doing the right thing. I asked for to get my son every summer, and she always tells me no. I don't understand, how, the government puts women in a position of power and make it hard for a man who's trying to do the right thing to do the right thing. All I want to do is be involved in my son's life. I know there are a lot of deadbeat dads out there, but there are a lot of good dads like myself who really want to be influential in the children's lives and really want to be hands on. All I want is to get my son every summer and on alternating holidays. Now, I filed some paperwork to uh, get a hearing about my son, and later on, I found out that I grabbed the wrong set of paperwork. I grabbed some paperwork to uh, amend or to correct a parenting plan. Um, then I found out at a later time that a parenting plan was not in place, so I had to, file paperwork to actually establish a parenting plan. So, with that being said, they still had set up a hearing, and I requested to attend the hearing over the telephone, and the magistrate or whoever was in charge, they told me no. I got declined. I got a letter in the mail that said that um, I'll be unable to attend by phone, and I had to physically appear, or my case would be thrown out. So I, I was really worried that I couldn't make it down there and that my case would be thrown out. And at that time, there was a hurricane that was approaching Florida, so the hurricane canceled court for that whole week, so they had to reschedule my hearing. Now, they told me that they would notify me when they rescheduled. I didn't receive anything in the mail. I didn't get an email. So, I'm just waiting. I'm thinking, well, they're giving me some time to get my stuff together. And that wasn't the case. A couple weeks ago, I got a letter in the mail saying that they had the hearing and that I didn't attend, and that my son's mom did attend, and that my case was pretty much dismissed. So that is just one another frustrating thing that a father who actually cares has to go through. I don't know how many men that this has happened to, but I do know that I'm not the only man uh, who's uh, getting the short end of the stick when it comes to the mother of their child. So, with that being said, in 2019, it is my goal to still get this parenting plan established and still begin to get my son every summer and on alternating holidays. I feel like that's a reasonable request. You know, I'm not going for full custody. I'm not trying to take my son away from his mother or away from his sisters. He has two sisters. He has an older sister and a younger sister. I'm not trying to take away from that. All I want to do is spend time with him because I love him. You know, and I want to be able to um, be influential in his upbringing. And I don't want him to think that he has a father who does not care and who does not love him. Even though I tell him that, the fact that he goes these long stretches without seeing me, makes it very difficult and puts extra strain on him. And he's in the middle of this um, battle between his mother and I. And his mother is determined not to do the right thing. Now, I live in Akron, Ohio. My son lives in Florida, and I have family that also live in Florida. And my mother, my brother, they almost have to bump into him, out in the streets to see him. Now, my mom does go by his house, but he's often not allowed to go with my mom. Uh, she took him his Christmas gifts, and he had to try stuff on in her truck. He couldn't go with her. It's just little silly stuff like that that really bothers me because, you know, we're not trying to do anything wrong. We just want to be, you know, we just want to bond with our family member. And, I don't think it's right that we're being prevented from doing that. And the state of Florida doesn't really recognize grandparents' rights, so my mom doesn't have any legal uh, ways to make her do right. And as far as with me living out of state, she just not gonna do right because I don't live in the state. Now I did let her know in the paperwork that I filed. I said that I would pay the cost, to get him to Ohio and to return him to Florida. You know, um, because technically I could be like, well, meet me in the middle somewhere, and I'll pick him up and bring him the rest of the way. And then when I return him, meet me in the middle somewhere, and I'll drop him off. You know, but I said that I would pay for all that. Now, I'm not going to make myself sound like a saint. I'm a normal person. I do make mistakes, and I am behind on my child support. It is my goal to get that caught up, and I'm working towards that. Just got to, keep making those payments. I mean, child support's a dirty game because they don't care about the relationships with the kids. They only care about the financial aspect of taking money from the fathers, or in some a small amount of cases, the mothers, depending on who has the child. But you know, I haven't seen my son in a few years. Um, I had custody of my son for about 6 months, and he was away from his mom for about almost a full year. My mom actually had custody for several months, um, and then I had custody for like 6 months. And what had happened was my son's mom had pleaded guilty or no contest to child abuse or neglect. Uh, my son had marks on his body that couldn't be explained, so the state of Florida stepped in and took away uh, her kids. At the time, she only had two kids. She has three now. So, and at that time, I never met my son. So the state didn't want to separate the kids. They wanted to send both kids to South Florida with her mom, but the judge had a heart and let my mom keep my son for a few months while I was in college, finishing my semester. And once my semester was complete, I went to Florida and spent the summer bonding with my son because I had never met him before. So we bonded for a couple months, and then we both returned to Ohio. I got him in school. I was doing a fantastic job. I was on the PTA. All the teachers loved me. All the other parents were proud of me. I was proud of myself because I'd never been in that kind of situation before, and it felt really good to have my son with me. I was doing a fantastic job, and the state of Florida stepped in and they said that they had another hearing because when they took my son and his sister away from their mother, um, they told her all she had to do was complete a parenting plan, which involved like anger management and parenting classes, and um, it was a real messed up situation because upon completion of her program, the state promised her that she would get them back with no questions asked. No matter how good that I was doing, I've never been accused of abusing or neglecting my son, but she had, and she had a chance to do that and get him back before uh, me even being allowed to keep him. And I tried to keep him, and that's why we're at the point where that we're at today. Is she doesn't like me, she doesn't trust me because I tried to keep my son when I did have custody of him, because I wanted to make sure that he's being looked out for, because I trust me more than I trust her. Is because she doesn't want us to be involved in his life, and she tries to minimize our role every chance she gets. And it's a shame because I feel like there's some stuff going on that's not being that we don't know, because my son is scared to talk to us. Because one time, since she's had him back, he said that she was hitting him again, and I called the state of Florida, uh, the hotline or whatever. I called them and I said, "Hey, my son is being hit again." He told my mom, and my mom told me. So I called them, and I called down there and I said, "Hey, just send somebody to his school and ask him, and check and see what's going on." And as soon as I got off the phone with them, they called her. And the way that I know that is because right after I got off the phone with them, a few minutes later, she called me. And the only way that she could do that is, with them contacting her. They didn't go to the school and see what was happening. They just asked her what was going on, and she made up some crazy story about that he actually tried to look at his sister inappropriately or touch her inappropriately, so she uh, put her hands on him. It's just one story after another, and my son needs me, and I need my son. So if any men are out there going through a battle, trying to be involved with their kids, I definitely understand. It's an issue that's close to my heart, and maybe we can help each other. Uh, if you understand what I'm going through, leave a comment. Um, I'm going to be talking about this topic a lot, because until I get it fixed. So subscribe to this channel. I'm not going to put any graphics or anything in here. Just look down into the description of the video, and check out some of my websites, because by checking out my websites, perhaps I can raise the money to get me an attorney, and go through this the proper way, and actually be involved in my son's life the way that I'm supposed to be. I want to be the father that I never had. I didn't have a father growing up. I had father by committee, and the men in my family stepped up tremendously. My great uncle was the closest thing to a father that I've ever known. He stepped in and he did a fantastic job until he passed away. So, you know, I don't want to, you know, put my responsibility off on anybody else. I'm trying to step up and be the man that I know that I can be, and I'm trying to raise my son to be the man that I know that he can be. So, thank you for listening to me today, and I want to wish you a wonderful day. And all the fathers out there who's going through something, let me know. I mean, we probably need each other. We can be a support network for each other. Like I said, subscribe to the channel, and check out some of the links, and anything that I put in the link section is legitimate. I don't endorse anything that's not legitimate. Everything is like Better Business Bureau A rated, A plus rated. So I have to raise this money to get an attorney to make the state of Florida uh, make her do the right thing, and that's all I want. All I want to do is be involved in my son's life. Have him every summer and alternating holidays, and I feel like that's a reasonable request. Thank you for your time today.